Hello and welcome to the Nash Tackle Off the Hook podcast. Just to make you aware, this podcast may contain some explicit/offensive language, and if that's not your thing, you don't have to listen, but I have given you a warning. I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
You don't know the half of it, but anyway. I'm skating on the thinnest ice known to man.
He said, and they put a poison in the tank that just instantly kills them. He went and we'd run out of it, so we cut their heads off with shovels.
Suddenly, bang! The whole boat exploded.
Take your sort of 8-inch long piranha and imagine that at 4, 5, maybe 6 feet.
I said, I've revived your dead fish. F off, he said. You haven't.
That was just humongous. It was... I couldn't believe what I was looking at.
I'm just battling this fish out in the pond. I know it's a black man. I'm saying I'll never be a naughty boy again.
If you catch fish and you return them to the water, then you are my brother.
Welcome to a slightly different Nash Off the Hook podcast. Those of you that have listened to it or watched it on YouTube, we've never done one live. There is a bit of editing, but not too much. But one of the formats that we run that is relatively popular, I'd like to think, is the debate. We come up with issues where people give their opinion. I've assembled an A-team of opinionists, I think, here. And they're going to give their opinion. Tired opinion. On a couple of issues. We'll see how long time goes. But we're going to start or open up with a classic. Best carp of all time. History is no element. You can bring them back. Boys, give me your thoughts, give me your feeling. Let's start with Mr. Hamidi. You were called on first. Best carp of all time, mate.
Best carp?
Carp.
Big rig, I would say. From we love. I'm going underwater filming at Avenue in a couple of weeks. I'm bigging it up.
It's good, mate. Keep them happy.
No. I'm not carpist in any way. I really do value whatever people get out of it for enjoyment. So a very politically correct answer. There's been so many great carp, I couldn't pick any out. Apart from Big Rig, that stands out to me.
Is that the one?
I like it. I like what it stood for the future and generations of carp fishing to come.
Good political stuff. What about history carp then? Let's go back,
History carp. I think that's... won't go as far back as the Chris Yates British record lineage. That always stood out as an image growing up. For me, probably, the most symbolic, as a kid, what it meant to me, I'd say... Damien Clark with the Snake Pit Common. That was,
Fair. Essex boy, I get it, yeah?
Yeah, probably, because it's local to me.
Ollie? Here we go.
Well, you've already said Big Rig. I was going to say that. No, I'm joking. No, to be honest, I think I sort of grew up in the era of Pete Springate, like being the godfather of my generation of carp fishing, and that brace shot of him with Mary's mate, for me, that's iconic, and for me, that's the ultimate carp, that Mary's mate.
What about modern day then? They've gone.
What, that's still alive?
They're still knocking around.
Do you know
now.
what? That butthead that Crowe caught recently from Girton.
It's a big one.
What a fish that is. I mean, a lot of people say that the Burfield Common is the best common in the country, but I think that butthead is a serious carp.
Why that not the Burfield?
I don't know. I just prefer the look of butthead.
Okay.
I think it's a more impressive carp for me.
Fair dues. Frank, repping the north, mate. What are you going for?
Frankie.
There's a few things that had a massive impact on my life as a long-time carp angler. I started in 1970. I know I don't look that old, but I did. And I was only 10, so do the maths. And but I remember seeing Dick Walker with Clarissa in the magazines and in the press, and that kind of blew my mind. And I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to catch one like that. He might have lied about the weight of it and everything else. When it went to London Zoo, it was 28 pounds.
Good eating lettuce
as ravioli.
at London Zoo.
So I don't know about that, but Dick was a bit of a dodgy sort of he was a bit of a slippery butcher. Anyway.
Slippery
butcher.
What have I said? Anyway, I won't go into that, but I've heard all kinds of things about Dick Walker. He was a bit of a rum turkey, and but let's not taint this sort of thing.
Can you tell one of us had a beer?
I would say that
he was one of the original tackle whores as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
He loved the free pack of hooks, didn't he, Dick Walker?
He did. Yeah.
He loved the free pack.
And his wife mysteriously fell down the stairs and died, and broke her neck. because she was interfering with one of his fishing trips. No, I was only joking. I think.
Is this live telly?
What I was saying is, that was interesting. That fish sort of spurred me on to do what I wanted to do with carp fishing. But I think if you were talking about modern fish, I think that satin common, the big common, was just like a ridiculous fish, because you know how starved of big fish we are in the north of England. It was always like, you know, I know I'm biased and I'm a northerner, but that fish, its biggest weight and the best shots of it was just unbelievable, mind-blowing. And I think, do you know what? Wow. I know a number of people caught it, but they all worked their balls off mostly to catch it. So I think that was incredible. No disrespect to the Burfield Common and all the rest of it. You know, they're fabulous fish as well. But I think from a northerner's point of view, that Tatton Common was incredible.
Also, I think like with that fish, legitimately capturing it from the fishing zone on days, that's an incredible feat of angling, mate.
Yeah.
What about illegitimately catching it?
There was a lot of
What about illegitimately catching it?
That's a different matter, Ollie, isn't it? But I reckon if you legitimately caught that is a fishing prospect. It's pretty hard, isn't it? What about mirrors? We've gone common heavy there, apart from big rig. I'll exempt big rig.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh, Danny Boy's there. The old Swavesy fish, mate. That's an incredible carp, innit? As a mirror.
Go on, Dan.
Go on, the boy. He's happy now. Look, he's cheering. But that's another mega mirror. Any other mirrors that stand out? You said Mary's mate, historically. Anything about now that sort of, I don't know?
Mary, obviously. We said Mary,
yeah,
didn't it?
now.
Mary. The black mirror. The black mirror, obviously, is another iconic carp, wasn't it?
What are you saying?
I think the Bishop Yates's fish was at 51.10, whatever it was, in 1981.
Yeah.
It was an incredible fish at the time. I know it was spawn bound a little bit, but still an incredible fish.
I think we're spoiled now. There's so many big fish about, aren't we? It's hard to pick.
Yeah, there are loads now.
Back in the day, there weren't so many to go for. You know, if you're a circuit water angler, you had quite a limited choice of fish to fish for. But now there are so many big fish.
Get a Grenville ticket.
Do you know what amazes me, guys? Is how the hell has it happened? Because we used to have fish that were uncaught, that were fed on naturals, that got to £30 or something, if it was unique. But now, where these, maybe it's just we're using better tactics to catch them, but there's places that have hardly been fished that are throwing big fish up, and there's also, you know, the pressured fish that are achieving monster weights, and you think, how it must be the food. It has to be the food.
Or the weather, Frank. It's a bit milder, isn't it, these winters? So.
Well, I think yes, of course, because if you look at the Italian fish, you know, there's a temperate band across Europe. Those fish can feed properly on the right food for a lot longer, and that must be the case. But when you think back, Ollie, it's so true, because we don't have any of the harsh winters anymore, do we?
No, not a lot of lakes really freeze over, do they? Not the big deep ones.
Yeah.
But,
In Europe, though, as well, if you were talking about a bit of Europe and like places like Croatia and things like that where they've got really big, obviously the water, their feeding optimism is best at 28 degrees. A carp is most efficient at feed, and then the other thing is the fact that catch and release got introduced there. Probably, I think it was 9 years when we filmed the first monster carp there. I think catch and release had been going properly, like at places like Shumba, for 7 years. So obviously they're not getting eaten anymore. So that gives them a chance. So I've said it in other places. They would grow in the Middle East, in those parts of Europe, because of the consistency and they do have quite harsh winters there still, but they have really hot summers. They could grow. I think Croatia will do the world record in the end, but it's just got so much potential.
Yeah, it's got everything else.
And catch and release.
Yeah.
And the more catch and release that happens in those regions, the bigger they will get. You know, I don't know how much more they would do, because it is so cultural to there to eat the carp. I suppose if I ate carp, if I caught a 50, I would probably knock it over the head and take it home if I was eating carp. Yeah. I had a chat about this last week on carp recipes in the Czech Republic.
Yeah. Probably won't promote that.
Don't go to there here.
Have you eaten carp before?
I did, during Monte Carp. I said I described carp soup as death in a bowl, and then fried carp, like traditional, which is actually, I think their traditional meal there, as actually... All right, not as nice as fish and chips, but like fish and chip style carp.
But to round up, snake pit common, you'll go Mary and Mary's mate as a brace.
Mary's mate, yeah.
More than butthead?
Mary's mate.
Mary's mate. Yeah. Frank, Tatton common?
Yeah.
The one?
Yes.
Fair play, definitive answers. Next topic area, there is a lot of European and outside of European experience in terms of carp fishing here, boys. For you, a single best country for carp fishing, what would it be? Where is it and why? Frank, let's go to reverse.
Go on, mate. Go on, Frank.
Go on, Frankie boy.
I was looking for Ali to take up the reins. I would think Croatia or Italy.
One single... No, I'm joking. Croatia or Italy? Why, mate? You've done a bit on Parco, I know that.
Pick one.
Well, the best place I've ever fished where I enjoyed it the most was Lac du Dare. The Northern Basin. The Northern Basin. The Northern Basin. Dave Flummer had been on there. He said it was crap. Kevin Maddox, there was no fish in there hardly, so we went on there. Oh, shit. There wasn't many fishing, but the average was massive.
Mega.
Yeah, it was very, very good.
We need one country.
Are you going for France,
You've got France.
So I've gone to France
Italy.
now, yeah.
You went Italy and Croatia, and then France come in at the last. But it's near enough. Same continent.
Don't forget, I've got 53 years worth to go through.
Process in it. But look, there. Actually, Italy's full of tiny carp. Well, they don't want to go there, apart from the ones on commercials. Actually, France has got wilder lakes with much bigger carp. Bing. I think.
on France.
I love the thought process.
I like the working of the Warwick mines, is what you saw there.
Legend.
Ollie, where are you going?
I'm going to go Austria, I think.
Austria,
yeah. I mean, it's quite sort of underrated as a carp fishing destination, but there are so many big carp there, and the fishing is incredible. Like the lakes are beautiful. It's a really lovely country.
Austria,
a bit of a wild card there.
What do you think in terms of parameters of... You said there, really nice venues, you said big carp. Does that really matter? Is it more scenery? Is it more access? Is it more of the unknown? What is it that sort of appeals to you?
I think it's a little bit of the unknown, and there's also a lot of big carp in Austria. Like, France is known as being a country with a lot of big carp, but actually the Austrians have got a lot of very big carp, 35 kilo plus carp.
And no one knows anything about those fish.
No, that's right.
The only person I had access to was Briggs in Crowe via Kurt Grabmeyer.
Yeah.
And that was the only way that you knew about that. And Philip Riedel, who was the captain of the Rapid Vienna team. You're right.
Yeah. But nowadays, I mean, it's a lot more known about than back then, Frank. But even so, it's underrated as a carp fishing destination, for sure.
Nice.
Those are the most magnificent fish as well over there, Ollie, aren't they?
Oh, for sure.
Wow.
For sure, yeah. Some amazing big fish. A lot of 80-plus commons and that. Really nice ones. So, yeah, Austria for me.
Sign me up. Ali, where are we going?
I think if someone said, right, pick somewhere to just drive to and lose yourself for a year, it would probably be France, just for the variety. You've got, like, the mountainous lakes of Austria. You've got, if you want commercial, easy access, big fish, you've got the south of France, Cassian. It's quite an easy choice for me, having been quite intensely in those areas the last few years. Just came back from Spain, and for me, kiss a lot of little fish. You're going wading through a lot of very skinny, tiny, ratty carp, I was calling them, and then in that trip we didn't catch one over 30 pound, and then I come back and I caught a 30 pounder in January in like 7 minutes of fishing back in. It's not about size, it is what Frank said, the adventure is a big part of it, but I think France has all of it and quite easily accessible for information.
I mean, I would have said France too, but it would have been boring. It would have been boring if we all said France, wouldn't it? But no,
Austria's a great choice.
Where would you like to go if you could go somewhere where that you've heard about but you can't easily get to?
It's easy answer. The easiest answer in the world. Yeah, it's Iran, to be honest. Back to just to go to where I was born because they have started carp fishing there a lot. There's some big fish, but there's also the Tigris barbel. I know it's off-piste, but yeah, it's either fishing or getting beheaded. So I'll stick to not going there because it's just the political issues there and working in the media here. I wouldn't be able to go. But that would be, without a doubt, if someone said, go fishing somewhere, I would be straight on a plane to Iran.
It's funny enough, Jakob Wagner, my mate, he said that's the place with the biggest carp in the world there.
I think organically...
Possibly.
I've seen pictures of 60s.
Well, the climate's good there, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's warm.
Yeah.
Not harsh winters.
Yeah, they're big. There's like I've seen a lot of pictures of 60-pound commons. They're a little bit like, the Reduta shape they used to back in the early Reduta days, like that.
They're like the Moroccan ones.
Very much like that. Gold, round, plump. Yeah.
I think Turkey's got some incredible fish.
Turkey's thrown a curveball.
There was that lake, obviously, that did the near fried to Dalaman that had the 70-pound fish. But again, it got killed. It's like hanging on a restaurant wall.
This is the problem. We went to Montenegro, Lake Skadar, and there were no carp left there. No, pretty much no carp.
I was doing a match in Serbia, which is quite unusual in itself, and I met some Turkish carp anglers. They were great lads, fantastic, really serious. Yeah. And they showed me they said about
that lake is stuck to the sea, basically. They catch them slightly in the sea there, the carp.
Exactly, the saline, But they've got some waters there where the locals respect the fish, and they showed me some amazing photographs, and there was some monster fish. And I was like, wow. But years ago, my mum and dad were flying. They used to go to Turkey every year, and they were on a plane in the probably mid-'80s. And guess who they were sat next to? Bernard Loftus's mum and dad. And another guy was on the other part of the aisle, and they were talking, and they said, "Where are you going?" Blah blah blah. And there was a guy there he said, "Oh, you won't know about this," but he says, "I'm going carp fishing in Turkey." And he got pictures of 60s out in 1985. And he says, of course, you wouldn't know about any of this. He says, but I'm mad on carp fishing. My dad says, my son's Frank Warwick. So his arse fell out. He says, you're not going to tell him about all this, are you? He says,
as soon as I get off the plane.
Yeah, exactly. So, but out of respect, I never shared that, but those fish were £65 then. Yeah. A long time ago.
I recken a shout as well, to be fair, I've not said it, but America, it's massive.
I was just
thinking
that,
There's loads of expanses of water. Yeah. It is a bit unknown. There's buffalo carp. There's obviously king carp as well. There's tons to offer there in terms of, somebody who wants to go out, really explore it. We've seen a lot of media around France, a lot of media around a lot of European countries, but Australia, the States... relatively sort of undiscovered from our point of view, I think, anyway.
Yeah, the place with the biggest fish I've ever seen or heard or anything is Gomera.
Right.
Off Tenerife. We went there in the winter and the fish we heard crashing there and what we've seen were ridiculous.
See, I've never seen any sign with that lake. I never saw any signs in any of the strain or the photos to ever make me think they could get big there because...
Yeah, I've got all them.
Yeah, because the ones I've seen are all quite lean and...
Frank gets all the photos, doesn't he?
Frank's got the photos.
I've never seen any plump ones that make you think, they could get big here.
I've got photos of them to just under 80.
In Guerrero?
Jeez.
Oh, you want
all those heavily plated scale-looking things at £80?
No, not all. I'll show you. I'll show you later.
There you go.
Job done. Right, moving away from venues, we've got France a multiple amount of times, Austria as a curveball, I've thrown in the US, but we're all roughly, France is quite a safe bet. Moving on to the next subject, current day UK best venue. You can have syndicates, you can have day tickets, club waters, take it all into account. Talk to me about where you stand on that and what your thought process or criteria is for what quantifies as the best carp water in the UK. Let's go, Ollie, because you've not started, mate.
Oh. Well, I'm a little bit biased. I'm going to say Horton Complex because of the variety of fishing and the size and also the look of the fish. So it's pretty well stocked with big fish. I think there's 15 over £50 at the moment on the complex.
Yeah.
And you've got, like I say, variety of fishing from boat fishing to floater fishing to edge fishing, like you've seen yourself, Hassan. So there's something for everyone, from the the top of the tree, hardcore, boat angler, to someone who just wants a bite, So, yeah, for me, it would be Horton.
Home of Horton.
Yeah.
Ali, where are you going? Grenville?
Yeah, I think it's so hard to pick one. I mean, like when Ollie describes, you said Horton, didn't you? Yeah. It is so. I really agree and align with everything he's saying. It's true. There's so much variety, so much that's personal to people's fishing and what they want from it. If you're going on purely, for me, like in a sort of brutal, if I had to go and catch fish, especially with limited time and available, what's going to fuel my fire now in a in a mercenary sort of way.
Big uns. Big uns.
Well, yeah, but also great-looking big uns. I mean, Grenville. I said to someone, take the AstroTurf out of the equation on the things, right?
Yeah.
But I said to someone, because you might need AstroTurf boots when you go there. But as a stock and what's been created, I'd say it's probably in my lifetime fishing the best carp lake I know that's been created from
scratch, yeah.
Yeah, from the beginning.
The stock is mind-blowing. How many big uns are in there now?
I was talking to Paul on the way home yesterday, and you think you're talking over 200 carp, over 40 pounds, 25 plus over 50. There's probably, Pete will know, 4, 5, 60s in there now? 4. Yeah, but he reckons there could be another... And
they're growing as well, Ali,
Yeah,
aren't they?
growing,
Like, in
aren't
5 years' time, how big are those fish going to be?
Yeah, I admire... It's whether they bottom out or top out at a weight, but what I admired when I filmed there for Grand Fishing Adventure, I saw why it was happening, and it's again a human being that's putting all their life and soul into this project, like from the management of the banks, but also the rolling bait every day, steaming tubes of feeding it. It's deep and it can take bait. The biomass is right, so they're not, the oxygen levels, the water quality, you can see it with your own eyes when you walk on the bank. It's just pristine. And you can see that that's the sort of place that will thrive. Plus bait, plus great fishery management. It should do. I'd be very surprised, as long as Paul is still running it, if in 5 to 6 years' time it hasn't done a 70. Yeah. That's what I think. It should do. I'd be surprised.
Do you think it will be the record-holding venue, I think, will it, in the next 5 years?
It'd be a mind-blowing place, because you're talking of so many... It's just literally that strain of carp, whether they have a limit.
Well, we've got Fisher Pond fish in Horton that was stocked in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
They're still going strong, so there's no reason why those
fish... But I mean, they're top weight, like whether they... where they just reach saturation?
Yeah.
Whether they can get to... Whether them strains can get to 70 and... like Rob Hales's fish, and I admire Rob, and I think in 20 years' time, no one will even talk about it. He'll be creating generations of fishing for the next generations. His fish, some of them you can just see where their initial ancestry. They could do 80 pounds, Yeah. And I think Paul, has Paul got some? Peter knows. Paul's got some from Rob, has he? Yeah. So there's so many different strains in there. From there, there's real, it's quite exciting to see how it plays out.
to see where it'll go.
Even if I don't fish there, I like seeing the story, the narrative, because I see how much hard work the person's put into the lake.
Yeah. What about the fishing? Is
Prolific,
that exciting?
If you're on it, it's big lake, so that's exciting as well. It's not a gimme,
Yeah.
They can be. You can't use zigs. They can be miles out. Even Frank wouldn't be able to reach them in his prime.
It's a lot of range fishing, isn't it, I think, from what I can hear from the guys.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Last week?
From what I've seen of it, the angling seems relatively, and this is with the utmost respect, one-dimensional in terms of you're fishing at range, it's over bait, and there's not a lot of stalking in the edge, there's not a lot of that type of opportunity.
Well, Bobby caught his stalking in the edge, but I think for me, I think of lakes that I could sit there and I'd be like, I could do my emails here while I'm sitting there. They are, it isn't like what Ollie's described.
I'd hate that, Ali. I'd hate that. I couldn't sit behind rods like that.
But I love what you've described.
Yeah.
Like when I suppose there's loads of what I love that, seeing them described. But I think from what's the best lake in your mind in the UK for out and out? That's the one I would pick. But
fair play, Frankie boy. What are we going for?
Well, what was the question again?
Best
Fort Fleet. Say Fort Fleet.
The best UK carp lake, or the best UK carp lake for me?
For you, not for anyone else.
What does best mean? I think the best means. I think there's a load of bullshit. I think this guy here that's got a massive carp farm that's doing whatever they're doing over there. They're rearing all these monsters and all the rest of it. Great, I respect that. I went there and caught 5 fish in a day, just coming out of winter. And then it's £100 to be on the waiting list. And you might never get a membership. So what for the people that are watching this, is that great? I want somewhere where, if we're going to talk about a chance of the people that are watching this, an aspiration to get in as the best carp lake, I would say linear, where you can catch all these. I know it's mobbed and it's busy as hell. I used to joke with Roy Parsons. I says, Roy, why don't you just have a bivvy on a pallet so you can just drive up and put them on a forklift truck in between everyone else that's fishing and then take your money? That's how carp fishing's become.
Well, I think the best venue is the one that you enjoy fishing, isn't it?
Yes.
Correct,
that is the key to everything.
Yeah. I should say that, like I said Horton, but I've fished on that complex since 1999, 24 years. Yeah. I fish a lot of other places, but I keep going back there, and it holds my interest. So for me,
what's that for you, Frank?
It's not about
what's
fish
that for you?
sizes.
I get the accessibility. I completely understand that. People being able to fish it and go there and do that. For you, a venue which you enjoy fishing, doesn't matter what it is, but for you personally, what is that? Or where?
What's your favourite bit of blue, Frank?
That's a great way of putting that. My favourite is a clear horizon where you turn up, you don't know what the hell's in there. If you know what's in there, okay, there might be big fish, and that's a little bit of an element that's exciting. But if you turn up somewhere and you're thinking, if it's got big fish in, great. But if you go into a different country or a different, it might be Summerleys in Hampshire. I went down there once years ago. I didn't know what quite was in there in the middle of winter, and it was so exciting when you got a bite, and you just didn't know. So I think that mystery has always got to be part of life. It's hard to explain, but when you take away that excitement, and you know all the fish have got names. I mean, okay, even if they've got names and you're fishing for them, you've got a target. That's good, but for me personally, I like it that little bit of suspense.
Bit of unknown, Frank.
Yeah,
a bit of the unknown.
Yeah.
So, what was your favourite bit of blue?
So many.
He's
been so many places, haven't you?
Like Reduta back in the day, remember?
But Reduta was unbelievable.
Don't start him on Reduta.
Here we go. Reduta tails.
I knew you'd bring this up.
Was that in the UK?
Yeah. No, I don't think it was.
Staying on track.
Reduta was good because Baldemar had caught that 80. We didn't know what to expect. And
it was more than just that. It was dimensions to Reduta, wasn't there? The fish in there.
Yeah, you're just jealous that you weren't there.
He's on a wind-up. Grenville, Horton, somewhere, Frank. We don't know where Frank's going. He's going Reduta. He's going somewhere else unknown. But an unknown element in there, mate. Hopefully in his country. But you're not going to
twinned with Reedsmere. There you go.
Reedsmere. Fluoros, long. Job done.
No,
surely.
That's reaction.
I really would love to, and to just go back there, just to fish, just to be back on the banks.
Do you want me to take you as a guest?
I'd love to.
There you go. Open invite on
I
tape.
just need to buy some time from the shops.
And you as well, mate.
I'll come as well.
I'd love it there.
We'll take Ollie.
I'll fish in the middle.
You're in.
In the summer, you want to go
Fluoros only.
We'll do it.
Yeah,
today.
Live debate on the banks of Reedsmere.
There you go. Sorted. Happy days. Do you know where I'd pick? Similar to where you are, mate, down the road. I don't know why. I can't quantify it in my head. There's not any real big fish in there.
Where would you choose?
Raisbury. I'd fish the South Lake. You don't see a bivvy. I love the fact that when you go there, you do not see another bivvy. Half of it has not got swims around it. There's not any... Well, there may be some mysteries, but there's an atmosphere there when I go where I just feel like... There's history, obviously, but I don't know, there's something there where I feel like completely zen, happy days, I could fish it forever. There's different types of... You can go stalking in the Finger Bays, you can fish long on spots, there's loads of depth variation, you can fish zigs, you can float a fish, you can do everything. And it ain't really rat racy, so to speak.
Variety is the spice of life, isn't it, mate?
That's me, that is me. Definitely.
In fishing and in other things also.
We'll take that. Keep it PG.
According to Frank.
Definitely according to Frank. Right, topic. You guys have got a lot of information, a wealth of information. You've been fishing a lot. In terms of
Can someone get Frank
phases,
a beer? He's run out of beer. He needs
get
a
the man a
pint.
beer.
Someone get Frank a pint, please.
Just the one. You sent him. Pointed and sent him.
My lad.
Is that Frank's handsome
Yeah,
son?
he's an
Look
handsome
at him.
brother, eh?
Handsome son, isn't he?
Look at him.
He's not rushing, is he?
He takes after his mother.
Moon phases. Relevant? A complete load of rubbish? Where do you stand on moon phases? Big fish coming out and amongst them, picking them in your fishing. This could be a wormhole here, Frank boy. Let's go.
There's the obvious answer that most of the people that are going to be watching this can only take the holidays when they can take them, because they might have work colleagues that have got driving the forklift truck that week or whatever. So if you're a bit knackered, you're knackered. You just do it. Or the wife might want to just say, "Oh, you go fishing that week, and I'll do this," which is probably communist thing.
Yeah.
But if
Or the husband, yeah.
if I could, I think the moon phases definitely have an influence on fish. They do on the sea fish. I've done a lot of sea fishing, and the bigger tides are when there's a new moon. So basically, why would it affect coarse fish that have evolved from the sea? So if I want to catch a particular big fish, I know it's like a cliche thing, this, but if you want to catch a big fish, the full moon is the way to do it.
Full moon or new moon?
Every big fish.
Yeah.
Full moon for you, Frank?
Yes.
Because like a lot of people would swear by the new moon as being the big fish. I haven't got any experience either way.
No,
I've had
some of the best fish in a full moon, but not many. It's kind of weird.
But your biggest ones, like
yeah,
Yeah.
and on zigs as well. Strangely
up
enough.
in the water.
Yeah. And
is that because full moon coincides with high pressure a lot of the time, you think?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And because at the end of the day, I've not caught many big fish on the bottom in a full moon. It's usually been off the bottom. And just out of interest, I've been using zigs since 1991.
Wow.
And adjustables.
Right.
Yeah. So I wrote an article for Paisley called Up Top, Down Below, and Somewhere in Between. And then I pulled it and said, no, I don't want to write about that.
No?
And he wasn't very happy.
Kept it to yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting because it was obvious if you got fish in an aquarium, they take everything in suspension first, and the bottom's always last, and then under any pressure. So everything in suspension is completely safe and easy food. It's the same with all our fish we're fishing for. So the zigs were always interesting. So if you could actually, tap into that and actually create a feed that there's a feed that hangs in suspension,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I do love a zig as well, Frank, definitely.
Yeah. It's boring in one respect, but it's an interesting approach.
It allows you to fish when you wouldn't, or to stand a chance of catching fish when you wouldn't normally be able to get a bite.
Yeah, exactly.
When there's times when the fish are not feeding on the bottom.
Ollie, mate, you've got recent experience of a big un on a moon with a zig, haven't you?
Yeah, well, we did a little trip to the Cotswolds, didn't we, at the start of the month, and found some fish, sort of milling around mid-water. I chucked 3 bits of black foam at them, and I caught the biggest fish in the lake, 49.5 pounds. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Job done.
Job done, yeah. And it was the biggest, greediest one, so he was stupid enough to eat my bit of black foam, but...
Ollie, I bet you wouldn't have caught that if you just 3 rods on the bottom,
Guarantee I wouldn't have caught it, Frank. Guarantee I wouldn't have caught it. They weren't up for feeding on the bottom at all.
Ali, Moons, you obviously planned a lot of monster carp shoots. You've got grand fishing adventure shoots. Do you factor in the moon? Is it important with regards to all that and your angling, mate?
Yeah, I discussed it in my talk earlier. It is. People say, oh, why? I follow that app, Fishing Pro, and I've always, the last 4 years of monster carp, they were very consistent, and one of the big factors was just making sure it crossed over into a couple of the best, what they said is the highest fishing efficiency. There was a couple of little tags over, and they were the most consistent. They were the most consistent trips. Them ones when we had 2 of the best phases. So on that Fishing Pro, it says like up to 100% fishing efficiency, and then a few days later, a similar phase. And I always tried to book it so it was over 2 of the best phases. And the last few years were very consistent. And now doing the Grand Fishing Adventure, you're booking around people a lot rather than fishing diaries. And I with Siamese carp with Gillam's, it's quite easy to explain with the full moon and natural food and the bloodworms sinking into the depths when it's brighter at night. But with carp, with king carp, I'm not so sure what the reasons are, but I suspect it's mainly related to light levels and natural food. That's what I've come to conclude. And I think the same with the sea and stuff.
I do pay attention to it, but for my own fishing, and I do get to pick and choose a little bit now when I go. I don't pay any attention.
Well, you can't change it, can you?
No, you can't change
unless you
it.
get up there with a ladder.
And I've actually caught really nice carp and big carp off
the back end of it.
On when the fishing would be poor. Which if I looked at my app and said no, I'm not going to go fishing, I would have never caught those fish.
Exactly. I've just liked to have them since we've had the little windows booked. Like when you just had 2 good phases, I just felt like it was always nearer to you hit the ground running. There's good days at the beginning and it's only correlating our own data, but you can't. Most people can't choose. Now we can't choose. We have to go around people.
So I think, like Frank's point is valid about the zig fishing, is that maybe if you can't choose, you can tailor your tactics
to suit the
conditions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And zigs, I said to someone, for me, zigs. If someone held a gun to my head and said one method for the rest of your life for carp fishing, it would be zigs, without a doubt. It is the only.
Really?
I've sold
really,
loads.
Mate?
Yeah, I've always said because they spend more time off the bottom than they do on it, don't they? Yeah. And I've had so many big fish. Even that one on the new series of Grand Fishing Adventure, that quite rare 50 from the Avenue.
Yeah.
I had not an argument, Rob. I said I'm not. I said to him, it's not. He said he doesn't think they're going to work. And I said, I bet you they do. The way these fish are showing, I know it's September, but these are zig shows. And I put one out, and we packed up 15 minutes later. It's one of the ones that rarely gets caught, and it got gazumped on a zig in like 15 minutes, Just a little mini one halfway up,
Yeah.
Hassan, I don't want to steal your thunder.
No, you're never stealing my thunder.
Can I ask a question to the boys? What is your variants of zigs that you would use? Because I found it 2 feet under the surface is a go-to, but I think I've noticed there's quite a few people that are using them quite lower.
Yeah.
Like we're the latest videos are out and all the rest of it. Have you done vast experiments to fish zigs all different depths?
I tend to fish them up in the water, Frank, like you. I want them in that top 12 inches of the water a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But actually, this one that I caught at the start of the month, I was fishing in around about 6 feet of water, and I went for a half depth.
What time of the year is that always, though?
February.
February.
Most of my zig fishing takes place in March and April, and a little bit of May. In those spring months where they're warming up and they spend a lot of time near the surface, and you can spend a lot of time throwing bait in the water for nothing because they're not eating it. So, for me, it's condensed into that 6-week period, let's say.
So your go-to would be a foot under or 2 feet or whatever?
I'd go a foot under.
Really?
Yeah, right up. And
good info.
All day, all night, any conditions.
All right, that's good info. What about you, Ali?
Me, I've had a lot at all levels with zigs. I've used them since I was a kid, really, at layer. Yeah. So I've loved zigs, and I've caught them in a lot of the layers at different times of year. So I always used to say post-spawning, and in those hot conditions when they really slow down the speed they're moving around the lake, I found that as the worst time, whether they're high or low. But then, like this time of year now, the mini zigs, 3 foot off the bottom, because they're swimming around at such a pace around the lake looking for...
Is that regardless of depth?
Regardless of depth, yeah. Regardless of depth, because they're going around looking for the first... Obviously, you say depth, but because of photosynthesis, the shallowest water is going to start developing the first strands of weeds.
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah, I mean, I did a trip on Bayswater, my first ever session to the Syndicate Bayswater, this is years ago. I hadn't done a carp for 5 months or something.
Yeah.
I turned up, I put a mini zig out on 2 rods, and I had 2 bites. And I remember Jim Shelley coming round going, I think he went, I should give him a go now. But I hadn't done it, but it wasn't me being good, it's just that
A lot of anglers won't try them though, Ali, will they? No. They haven't got confidence in them.
And I've never understood it. I think it's, having little bits of foam feels alien, but if you
I use big bits.
Yeah, whatever bits, size bits. I know people have caught them on 20mm pop-ups off the deck. Yeah.
Ali, Ollie, Frank, thank you very much for your time. Nice. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. That's the end of the debate, and with that, the end of the Northern Carp Show on the stage.